Well, we're here today with an interesting guy, a new acquaintance of mine, Chris Carneal, who's the founder of a company called Booster. He's the founder and CEO. And we were chatting recently, and I thought it would be a good idea to let you find out about Chris, find out who he is, where he's from, and the very interesting business he created and is creating and growing quite rapidly every day. So, Chris, how are you today?
Jim, thank you for having me. I'm quite honored to be on your show.
Chris, I just love finding out about interesting businesses, people who see things different, who go for different opportunities. I so admire people who created a business where there really wasn't one before. It's easy to say, oh, I'll be a florist because there's at that time tens of thousands of florists around, and you can figure out, oh, there must be a business here. They all seem to be getting along. You're a fellow who played baseball yourself in college. I think it was a little town in Alabama. Stanford University in Birmingham, Alabama, which is, by the way, a really nice town, isn't it?
It is. Sanford and Birmingham, and then I played at UAB for a year, University of Alabama, Birmingham. So 2 years of college baseball, realized I'm not going to be a pro, didn't throw fast enough, but loved the game. Then started doing baseball lessons for kids, which kind of led into what I'm doing now in some ways. Now I have 4 kids and 2 sons that I coach at baseball. So love the game, love what it does for character and life.
What about your daughters? Do they play?
I coached them at basketball for years. One's into musical theater and one is into volleyball right now. So multifaceted.
Now, what town did you grow up in?
I grew up in sunny South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Was born there. My dad was an attorney. My mom was a college professor, and about a mile from the beach.
And in grammar school there in the 8th grade, you had an interesting encounter with somebody.
My wife of now 22 years, Lindy, she had moved in town from Lexington, Kentucky, and her locker was next to mine. And I looked over and I literally, every hair on my arm stood up. I got the goosebumps. I got the intimidated. There's a beautiful girl next to me feeling in my stomach. And literally later that afternoon, my dad said, "Hey, how was the first day of school? We're throwing the baseball in the field." I said, "Dad, I met the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. And she's from Kentucky, like you and my mom are from Kentucky." Now, did she know I existed for the next 5 years? Not really, but we reconnected as friends at college at Stanford in Birmingham, and then started dating after freshman year, got engaged after junior year, married the month after we graduated, and now we've been married for 22 years and have 4 amazing kids. And she's the love of my life. She's soulmate, encourager, business partner. I mean, just everything. If I had to rank all the joys of my life, besides my faith, my wife and my family would be the top of the list.
That's so nice to hear. It's not something you often hear, but it sure is nice to hear.
That's right.
So now, what was your first, out of college, what was your first career step?
Well, it's interesting. I was a religion major, Jim, in college at Stanford. And I always remember being torn in 2 different directions. I wanted to change the world, make a difference, leave a life of impact, have influence, make a difference in the lives of others, encourage, inspire people. So I thought I needed to go into ministry, mission work, nonprofit work. At the same time, now looking back at my life, I was always an entrepreneur. I didn't totally know it at the time. I always started things, sold things, created things. I'm not artistic, but I'm creative. I like the 0 to 1. I like having an idea and trying to see if I could inspire someone to buy it, sell it, do it. So as a religion major, I was torn. I started businesses in college. I had all kinds of entrepreneurial ideas. Delivered flowers, by the way, for Mountain Brook Flower Shop. Delivered Christmas.
Happy to hear that.
Delivered Christmas trees. Started a business doing yards. Then started my baseball tutoring business. But then after graduating and then getting married, I actually went to grad school, a seminary in Kentucky. And I thought I thought the way that I could blend the head and the heart and the passions was to start a church. So I was going to move back to South Florida and work at a church, but not just work at one, start one. That way I could kind of put my entrepreneurial fingerprint on it. And as seminary went on and grad school went on, I would sit in the back of the room. I'd day trade stocks. I'd daydream about starting businesses. And it took a while for me to realize that I can make a difference in the lives of other people and I could truly change the world through a for-profit business. I thought I had to compromise a little bit. What I've now come to realize 20 years later, at least for my wiring and my gift set and my calling on my life, and the opportunities presented to me that I can make a much greater difference through for-profit business than I could through a nonprofit or the traditional ministry type of route. I love a scoreboard. I love a clock. I love the idea that if you build a business, you have to earn the rights of clients, and then you also have to earn the opportunity to employ great people and create a culture and then retain great talent.
Now, with your mom being an educator and you being involved in sports at all levels, all through life, there was always a need to fundraise, a need to get some new equipment or repair a field. So how did the idea of Booster come your way?
Sure.
And was that about 22 years ago?
It was.
At the same
It
time you
was
got married?
22 years ago last week. I'll tell a very quick origin story. So Boosterthon is what we're primarily known for fitness fun runs that raise money for schools all across America. We're currently the nation's largest school fundraising company. We've raised schools over $700 million in all 50 states, a lot of different service levels, about 900 employees. But once upon a time, it was just an idea. I was giving a baseball lesson to one of the fifth grade kids I was working with in Birmingham when I was in college and actually had finished my baseball career, but a junior in college. And Carter, the kid I was giving a lesson to, and I remember his name because after he graduated high school, he went into the Marine Corps. And then after the Marine Corps, he came and worked for our company for a few years, which is really special.
Oh, nice.
He said, "Coach, before our baseball lesson, can you buy some magazines for my school fundraiser?" And instantly, as any entrepreneur knows, the light bulb went on. Wait a minute. We're still selling magazines as a school fundraiser. I did that when I was in elementary school 15 years prior. And at the same time, when I was in elementary school, my dad helped our PE coach organize a fitness fun run. So you were talking about flower shops not being original, Jim. You've accomplished quite a lot because you saw what existed and how you could add to it and enhance it. And really, innovation is combination in many ways. How can we combine some great ideas and enhance them? So fun runs are not new and fundraising is not new. But at the time, there was not a company that would serve a school on behalf of the school and organize, promote, reward, and communicate everything needed to run a successful fun run campaign. There were volunteers that were doing the majority of the work, teachers that were having to take away time from teaching, or administrators having to sacrifice leadership time in order to organize fun runs. And basically, I went to a school and said, "Hey, I can do this for you, and you can raise a lot more money."
And instead of having to learn those lessons of what not to do over and over again, you bring a body of knowledge and a how-to playbook that assures much greater probability of it being successful, being fun, and raising the money that they need.
And to date, we've done the program, the campaign, we've run them 35,000 times. So, you get 0.5% better or 100% better every time. You learn, you aggregate best practices. You learn something a school's doing in Texas and you transform it to a school in Boston. You learn something they're doing in Arizona and you have a new idea for a school in Florida. So constant learning is definitely part of the ethos of Booster.
Constant learning and constant improvement.
Yes.
Refinement.
That's right.
So 900 employees, 22-year-old company. That's just amazing. How big is the market for what you do? And then the next question is logically, how do you define the market and can you grow the market?
Sure. Well, we can define the market in a lot of different ways. School fundraising for and then you could break it up into elementary school, middle, high school. You could break
How many schools are there in the country?
There's 100,000 elementary schools. There's
Wow.
about 130,000 schools overall, middle and high school. Of course, the sizes of middle and high schools are larger than elementary. As students grow up, they do less fundraising for their school and more fundraising for their club or sport. So we now do high school fundraising, but that looks like us helping the band or the football team, the drama club, the basketball team. Whereas in elementary, where we started, it looks like your elementary school is raising $50,000 for a new gym floor. So it's one campaign. But as students get older, the parent wants to help that specific student meet their specific need. So the market's huge. There's billions and billions of dollars raised every year for schools. And that's specifically in the
So how many schools are you working with today?
We work with 7,500 schools nationwide. We're the nation's largest school fundraising company. And back to impact, we teach a character lesson every day we have a video character campaign. We're really passionate about being a positive influence, adding joy. And
who does that go to?
Every student at every school. So there's 35 million elementary students in America today, and 3.5 million, 10% of America's students will somehow participate in our program this year. So that's a stat we're really proud of. 10% of the nation's
And how do they get
students.
this?
Schools will reach out to us, or they'll hear about it from another school. Word of mouth, of course, is the best. And they'll say, hey, here's an incredible option with a great team that can help you raise more money and do it in a positive, holistic way.
And then, but you say there's a positive message every day. How is that communicated to them?
So there's a character lesson that we film, a pretty robust video character lesson. And it's basically a story that's told in 6 parts, about 3-minute videos. And each year is a different character campaign, different lessons we're teaching, just holistic, universal truths that everyone would say that's what the next generation needs to hear. Be challenged to be a friend, to not bully, to be inclusive, to be encouraging, to be the best. So every year we revamp that character campaign, create those videos. So we're not just raising funds, we're also inspiring students to bigger and better things.
Mm-hmm. So you still have an enormous amount of growth ahead of you, and that's if you only do what you're doing today. But as you build these relationships, it sounds to me like your business can also grow horizontally. So if you have a relationship with a school, you can develop a relationship with the next club or the next sport or the next fundraising need.
We just started a product sale type of our business because schools will traditionally do 2 fundraisers a year. Elementary schools, at least, will do a fall fun run with us. And so we're looking to grow that significantly over the next few years. And then that's just school fundraising. And we're not there yet, but we've developed so many relationships with so many key decision makers and built trust, which is what the foundation of everything over years. Over time, we think our technology and our campaign can expand from schools to all nonprofits. Again, that's a few years away, but every time we work with, let's just say, a PTA president, she is on the board of or highly involved in at least 3 other nonprofits. So we, over time, would love the opportunity to serve them in many ways. So we think we can, 10x our company over the next 10 to 15 years again.
So $700 million in funds raised. You obviously work for a percentage of that. 900 people, 22 years, and the world is your oyster. I mean, the opportunity in front of you seems awfully dramatic. Why are you going so slow?
I love that question. The $700 million, by the way, that's school profit, not the total raise. We take a percentage of what's raised. That's the money that schools keep.
Yep.
I've never been accused or called slow in my life, Jim. I feel highly insulted right now. You might as well have just cussed at me a little bit more than call me slow. For crying out loud, fun run is our not fun walk. I mean, you should come to an event. They are running. There's not much walking going on.
And how do you find the people that are among those 900 people that you have? It sounds to me like these are going to be primarily younger, a lot of athletes, big personalities, outgoing people, big on character themselves. Am I accurate?
Did you just spend time with our HR people team? Because you just said it incredibly well. We want people that have a desire to make a difference in the lives of others. We do recruit a lot of former athletes because part of what we do is athletic in nature. There's a work ethic to it. I mean, my kids' school is kicking off their fun run this week, and our team will be on the field setting up at 5:30 in the morning, plugging in tunnels and tents and setting up all kinds of amazing sound machines and making the event just spectacular.
Microphones and finish lines and signage.
Yep. It looks like the circus comes to town, and we want that on purpose. So it takes a work ethic. And it takes a servant heart as well. So a lot of young team members, but also I have probably 25 team members that have been with me now for over 15 years. So there's a great career path to those that commit to the mission and understand the business and want to serve our clients with excellence.
And these 900 people, are they full-time, part-time, combination?
I'll bet 750 of the 900 are full-time. There's probably 150 that are part-time or more than part-time. And
geographically, do you cover every bit of the country?
We serve schools in all 50 states. Our full-service program, which means our team is there on campus, works in about 35 states. We have team members living in 33 states. We also have some service levels where we can basically booster in a box support service or shared service. We can send to school what they need, provide the customer service, the technology, the campaign materials, the T-shirts, the prizes, and so forth. So whatever's best for the school. Sometimes there's years where they have greater support for volunteers, and sometimes there's years they need our team to help.
So you have optionality in terms of what a school can contract with you for.
Yes, and they'll move in and out of those depending on the year and the need.
What's in the R&D lab that you guys are working on beyond fun runs? Obviously, you can continue to grow that out because it's fun. It's got an athletic beat to it. It gets people together socially. It gets people to interact with one another. So many positive things come from it. Oh, and by the way, you help raise the money that they need for those projects. But what do you have in the lab?
Well, there's really 3 things that we're working on now that clients would say it's not in the lab, but we have not scaled it. And the first is product sale. So not just a donation drive, but basically a share a wallet play. If we have the relationship with the school and they're doing let's say a fun run in the fall, would there want to be a product sale in the spring? And most of them do some sort of product sale in the spring. So we're looking to...
And give us an example of what those products might be.
Well, we are trying to reinvent the category and innovate it. If you know anybody that's in the product business that sells quality flowers or other things, I'd love to talk to them over time, Jim, because there's definitely some options. Products would be home goods, some perishables like cookies. People are familiar, of course, with popcorn and cookie dough. We bought a company that did product sales very well, and we're spending the next few years trying to really understand what the customer wants to buy, not through Amazon, because we cannot and will not compete with Amazon on either price or simplicity. So what is something we could provide that they would be willing to pay where a percentage goes to the school? So we're innovating that right now. That would be number one. The second would be we're new to the high school business, and we're trying to think innovatively as well on what are ways to communicate and motivate high schoolers in a way. And that's very different than elementary students. I have 2 in high school and I have 2 in elementary. So I know firsthand it's a totally different client.
So you're just doing research at home.
Lots of research every day with my kids, every conversation. And then the third would be that's in the lab. Yeah, it would be what I just talked about a little bit ago. How can we build every foundational relationship, technology, touch point campaign to be able to one day keep the relationships of our decision makers, but then serve them in the nonprofits they're involved in outside of school. We think the whole, fundraising, when you say that word, I'm saying it right now on your podcast, fundraising, everyone had an emotional response. Is it good or bad? And I think it needs to be framed. You have a bad response if you are asked to give money to something your heart's not in. People sometimes call fundraising a necessary evil. Well, I love giving to organizations that I believe in. And I bet everyone listening says, my heart loves supporting whatever it is, my kid's school, whatever the need is, from food to mental health to education to religious organizations. You love supporting that because your heart's in it. So we want to create a culture of generosity that makes it simple to give, but doesn't just benefit the person that receives the funds. For those people that have a history of generosity, we know that when you give, it does something inside your heart, inside your soul, inside your mind, literally physiologically. The joy of giving changes you and makes you a better person. So we're on a campaign to make giving fun, rewarding, cool, and also the idea that generosity can bring you joy. So the donor and the recipient.
But I like the idea of how you do things. There's something in it for everybody. Of course, you want to raise the money for the project, and those projects are awfully worthwhile. But making it social, making it fun, I wholeheartedly endorse what you just said in terms of there's a physiological, chemical evidence that giving is rewarding to the giver as much as the recipient, and maybe more, because we can track and trace the dopamine release in the brain, and it lights up when we're givers. And that's whether we're giving through an act of kindness or giving of something material, money in this case, or just giving our time and our attention to causes, just makes us feel better. Yep. And so I just think it's terrific that you can do well in your business by doing good, having great impact, And certainly, Chris, the calling you thought you had as a young person in terms of a ministry, what I love is that you didn't think that they were incompatible, those urges, that calling that you had to help other people, but you could do well by doing good. And I think that's such a good message and an important message. And it seems to me that I'm guessing, but I don't think I'm far off, that if I were to have an opportunity to interact with those 900 folks or any of the people that you work with at the elementary school, the high schools, and now even a few colleges, that it's so rewarding to have someone who knows what they're doing, has a great spirit and attitude about it, helps you get it organized, and then the feeling of accomplishment at the end of the day of that fun run, when smiles were all around, maybe a little tears here and there when someone fell and skinned a knee. But when that's all said and done, I gotta believe that those people are thinking about the Boostathon, the fun run, as something they're glad they knew you, they're glad they got in touch with your company, the wonderful young people you sent made it a great event, they accomplished their goals. I got to believe the endorphins, the dopamines are going off in all the brains all around.
Absolutely. You're a New Yorker. Let me tell you a brief New York story of one of my favorite moments.
Hey, don't accuse me of being a New Yorker.
Just a little hint with that accent. One of my favorite favorite moments in 22 years, Jim, the day before the election of 2016. It was Hillary Clinton against Donald Trump. The world was on pins and needles. No one loved either candidate. People were, it was, tense, especially in the city of New York. We had the opportunity to serve Chelsea Elementary School. It was a mile from Trump's headquarters and a mile from Clinton's headquarters. And I remember standing there with my wife. I flew up for it because I remember dreaming, like, how could we ever pull off a fun run in Manhattan? I mean, it's complicated enough in, the Southeast. How can we pull it off? So there I am with my wife, with my top team, Chelsea Elementary School. You could feel that the election is tomorrow. Headquarters of the future presidents are both a mile away. The fun run starts. I watch a white male Wall Street banker with a $10,000 suit stand next to an African-American female who had a 15-minute break working on the subway, stand next to each other. Now, you could probably assume stereotypes and voting patterns and worldviews and whatever, but in that moment, they are shoulder to shoulder looking at their kids, both of them clapping and cheering, looking at each other and giving each other a high five. And I thought, in some small way, in this moment, this is the dream of America and this is the goal. Let's bring people together. Let's create an inclusive environment where we're focused on the good of others. Let's put aside all the other stuff. And let's smile and let's have fun and let's encourage generosity on behalf of everybody. So in that moment, I was just reminded again, this is what I was born to do. This is the inspiration that I love. And, it made me emotional and hopefully it's made a difference in the lives of others.
You don't think President Trump and Secretary Clinton were high-fiving one another that day as well?
Not that day. They were not. No.
Tell me, Chris, company's been, I love that you saw an opportunity, you went for it, you're building a company that you're proud of, that it's had tremendous growth and has tremendous opportunity in front of it. So let's say you're at the quarter pole here in racing terms. What's a near-term and longer-term horizon look like in terms of growth trajectory?
Wow.
You talked about the opportunities, where it is. How fast can you grow that you're maintaining? I would imagine one of the governors is maintaining the culture, finding the right people.
Yes, I think there's 3 capacity constraints. We talk all the time. When COVID hit, that's a whole nother story, but a long one and a compelling one. But I had to create a lot of simplicity in our narratives. So I said, guys, everything I talk about is going to be 3 buckets and 3 categories only: cash, clients, and culture. Anything we talk about, it's got to fit into how do we raise our clients' cash and how do we fund our operations? How do we serve our clients and build products for them? And then how do we build a great culture and develop and retain the talent to make it all happen? So when I think through the lenses of the future and how to create a healthy culture and healthy clients, we want to retain the best talent. We also want to retain the best clients. So I am as fast-moving and fast-paced a person as I've ever met. And that's not always the healthiest. And I've learned that about myself because I've created a very fast-paced organization. There is a balance and attention to speed and excellence. And there have been seasons that I've moved so fast, I have left client excellence or team culture behind. And then I've seen over time that the cash does not follow. So fast is not our goal. Healthy growth is the goal. And I feel like if we create the right best products and we keep a client-centric mentality, focus on our culture, then the cash over time will come and the numbers will work out for themselves. So we run a
tell me about the ownership of the company.
Say that again.
Tell me about the ownership of the company.
I owned 100% of the company until just a few years ago. I owned, my wife and I, financed on credit cards, no banks, no partners, no VC. So that was a capacity constraint as well. I didn't want to take outside.
Totally bootstrapped.
Totally bootstrapped. I called my mom for a $25,000 loan the day before payroll one time, and she graciously gave it to me. But other than that, it was credit cards and whatever we could do. Third mortgage on a house 1 year during the Great Recession of 2008. I'm an entrepreneur, so whatever it takes. But I had some friends that went different routes, and sometimes those are the best routes to take. For me, I just thought, I don't want to give up control because I don't feel like I'm going to flip this or sell this. I'm not an entrepreneur that views this as something to create to sell. I really viewed it as a calling, and I viewed the people and the culture is something that I wanted to spend my life developing and inspiring and encouraging. So we've set up the ownership structure that it will pass to our kids one day. And I have no intention of ever selling it. I might wake up one day with a crazy dream to, sell it and give the money to people that need it. But as of right now, I feel like the calling is to keep it a family organization so that we could stay as client and as culture centered as possible.
And tell me, besides work, tell me about your family. You mentioned how important faith was to you. How does that manifest itself in terms of your home and your home life, your family?
Yeah, everyone has different faith traditions or no tradition at all. But, I'm using words this whole podcast like calling. I am of the belief that there's a bigger story, and I have an incredible blessed opportunity to humbly take part in a story that's bigger than me, that I don't feel like I'm the center of the universe. I feel like there's a God and he's given me gifts. And there's a lot of things that I'm not gifted at. And I want to surround myself with great people that also share those gifts where we can contribute to the good of society and the thriving of people. I also feel like work is a gift. In the Christian scriptures, there's this idea of the Garden of Eden. And then there's this idea that sin entered the world. And I'm a believer that work existed as a good thing, and then work turned bad and tough. But I think that work in and of itself is not bad. I think we are called to work. I love work. I feel like I take great joy. In fact, there's 100,000 hours of my life that I'm going to spend at work. There's no greater piece of the pie of my life, including sleep, than I'll spend than at work. So I want to create a work environment that allows other people to flourish. So my faith tells me that I've been given a gift of this business for a moment. I might not have it forever. I get to cultivate the environment. I didn't create it entirely. I feel like the dirt was there, and I get to, and the sun and the rain comes from God, but I get to roll up my sleeves and work with my hands to cultivate an environment that other people enjoy spending the majority of their life in. And what a blessing and what an opportunity and a responsibility to do that for the good of others.
Now, do you talk shop at home?
Very much so. I literally, as we speak today, my 18-year-old daughter was helping run our Fun Run program that my 7th and 5th grade sons are in. And I got a picture. No kidding, Jim. An hour and a half ago. There's no expectation that they have to work in the business. There is the expectation that they will own the business one day. So they don't have a choice to be part of the family. They don't have a choice to own the company. But they do have the choice if they choose to work in it or not. And I might change that over time, but we share a lot with them. And hey, things are going good. And oh man, hey, COVID hit. This is really bad. And I remember March the 13th, 2020, literally saying, hey, family, I need your help. My kids saw me cry. Schools in America are shut down. What are you going to do, Dad? I said, I have no idea. I'll be honest, but let's just say a prayer over dinner and then let's get up tomorrow and let's work really hard. And I feel like that was a seminal moment for our family to see the blessings and the challenges of a family-owned business.
All right. So you left that big Labanza out there. How did you get through?
God's grace and an amazing team. So I'll tell you a stat to frame it. We went, are you ready for this? We weren't down 20%, 30%. We were down 100%. Revenue fell to zero, Jim, zero for 173 days.
But who's counting?
Me. Every day on the whiteboard in the middle of the office, because I also had next to it the number of days of cash left. And my goal was to just stretch it as long as we could. Guys, we got 50 days of cash. Hey, I sold something, did something. Now we got 60 days of cash left. So we were down to our last 30 days of cash after doing everything we could. And at the time, we were too big to get PPP. PPP was for companies under 500, and we were too small to get bailouts.
Under 500 people.
We had at the time 850-ish at the time. So every school in America was shut down. We thought we were diverse, 50 states, different service levels. Everyone said, school's done. 2 weeks to slow the curve, turned into 173 days. And man, it was a crucible for me of faith, honestly. Do I really believe that I was called to do this? We had the decision and choice. I remember my CFO, Stan, said, Chris, no one's going to tell you this. I love you like a brother and a friend. You could walk away right now. There's a few $1,000,000 in the bank. You're 39 years old. You need to consider this because you might want to come back in a couple of years and start it all over again. But if this knife keeps dropping, you can't catch it. And I said, well, I think I know what I want to do. He's like, you need to ask your wife about this one. And let me just brag on my wife again. You asked me about family. Now, after we prayed and I said, babe, what do you think? She said, hell no, let's go for it, baby. So that's my wife right there. Sweet and tough.
So tell us what the turn felt like. 173 days in, it wasn't faucet full on again. What happened?
So much of life is expectations, and we were expecting a $50 million semester revenue. And before COVID started, that was our projections and staffing and supply chain and everything. And just semester, the fall 2020. And it got so bad, our mantra became 5 to survive, 10 to win. So if you told me, and then we ended up finishing the semester with 13 million in revenue. Now compared to the 50, but once it became so dire and our expectations dropped so low, we were praying 5 to survive. If we don't have 5 million, I'm bankrupt. The game is up. 10 to win. Yep. We got a little bit to get going. And we scrapped, we listened to our clients, we created, we got back to the drawing board, and 13 million in revenue came in. And then the next semester, about 25. And then we were kind of back to the races.
You know, one of the things that I look at different leadership styles and take note of is something you've demonstrated for us here today. And that is the importance of attitude, of course, but the importance of vocabulary. And you're good at crafting vocabulary. 5 to survive, 10 to win. It paints a clear picture for us human beings that we can understand what we have to do, what's going on, even if we don't understand the details. We understand someone else does, and they have a vision. And if I just keep doing my part, then this could roll up to something that we're surviving, and then we're going to win. You've demonstrated that several times with several different of your phrases that you use on a regular basis to motivate, to educate, and to lead. And I think that's an important trait to point out to people, that they can look to other people in their lives and their communities who are good leaders and find a commonality there.
Well, the best leaders seem to have a mantra, a phrase, a statement, a campaign. And, you know, to be honest, over COVID, all I was doing was Zooming every day with my team. So I had to get good at it. The company depended on it. So wanted to keep things simple, wanted to inspire myself along with everybody else.
Well, Chris, I think yours is an amazing story. And I think, there's somebody out there now in high school or in college or just out of college, and they say, geez, what can I do? I have to go get a job someplace. And you're a living example that's an option, of course, and it's the one that most people will take. But there are other options, either before they get started in their careers or while they're in their careers and they see another opportunity. And I think finding that opportunity, trying to keep it simple, as you've mentioned several times, and knowing your lane, because a business like yours, someone like me would try and grow bigger, faster, and could potentially implode it. And your discipline of keeping it consistent is another friend of mine, Steve Silverstein. He operates another fascinating company called Spirits Halloween.
Yep.
He also has Spencer Gifts, but Spirits Halloween. And he has the same philosophy you have about growth. He said, my culture, my organization can grow 100 new locations a year. I think he's at 1,500 now. Wow. He said, the demand is probably for 500 or 1,000 a year. He says, but I would break my organization if I did more than 100 new stores a year. Wow. So he keeps a governor on growth because he wants to manage the culture, manage this very complex organization. Understand what they do. They rent temporary space for 60 days. They come in, they put the signs up, they put the register in, they do the lighting, they get their inventory, they sell, they undo everything, put it back in trailers, and see you again next year. So complicated, sure, but he saw a niche like you and went after it. But like you, he understands that you cannot step too hard on the gas pedal and maintain the culture and controls and discipline that you want.
Yep. One of my mentors, Dan Cathy of Chick-fil-A, his dad, Truett, who I think is one of America's greatest entrepreneurs, said you got to get better before you get bigger. And your clients will tell you when to get bigger if you get better. So I love fast. It's fun. But I'd rather go further together than faster alone, and I want to take my culture with me.
Last question. When you were growing up in Fort Lauderdale, did you know of or know Wayne Huizenga?
Yes. His son, Wayne Jr., is actually a family friend. Never got to meet Wayne Sr., but remember when he bought the Marlins, sold the Marlins, bought the Dolphins? I might be wrong in this stat, Jim, but I think he's the only entrepreneur in American history that has founded 3 billion-dollar companies. Blockbuster, Waste Management.
You're wrong.
And what's
5?
5, is that right?
5 Fortune 500 companies.
Wow, that's an even more impressive stat.
AutoNation.
That's right.
Blockbuster, Republic Industries, Waste Management, and Extended Stay of America.
Wow. Yeah, he's remarkable. And
not to mention all the other things he did.
Yeah. Generous man. South Florida thanks him.
Well, I had occasion to visit with his grandson recently, who's also seems like a terrific, really high quality guy, and to hear all the things that the family continues to be involved with, it seems like genetics worked out well there.
Yes,
and I bet they're going to work out great in your family too. I bet your kids are special because your wife must be awfully special too, because you're not that special.
You're right, Jim. I agree.
Chris, thanks so much for sharing your story with us today. I think you just inspired a whole new generation of entrepreneurs to look at things differently, understand what they're good at, what they're not good at, what they need to be better at, and every once in a while, take a shot. And you sure did, and it's paying off.
Go for it.
Thanks for sharing your story with us.
Thanks for your time. God bless you, Jim.
All right. Thank you.